All right, hey everybody. Just got a question that rolled in over a comment on Google Classroom. You can always send those here, and I'll bust out a video. I'll do my best here. So the question was, having some trouble. Let's comment first. Having some trouble factoring from some things that are missing a term. Okay, so what I assume that person meant is missing a term. They're only seeing two terms instead of three, right? Because the common thing that you factor in Algebra 1 are trinomials, right? Three-term things, right? Trinomial is written out in the form ax squared. It's usually factoring quadratics, right? Ax squared plus bx plus c. It's written in that form, okay? With a squared term, an x term, and then with just a ones term, right? A constant here, just the number and not a variable. So they weren't super specific about that here. So my guess is they're usually seeing with two terms. Here's an example of a two terms one, which is actually not quadratic. It's cubic. Our highest exponent is the third power. So there are two ways to do this. So that's why I'm showing both versions. This first one here is a binomial, but you should also ask yourselves the same question for both of these questions here. First of all, to factor something, I can factor a two-term thing, right? If a common factor exists between the two terms. And here we certainly have common factors, right? Because 4 times by 1 equals 4, but also, right, 4 times by 5 equals 20. So what can we do? We can factor out a 4. So we shouldn't forget to do that. We can just pull out. So remember, pull out common factors. That's what you do first. I'm going to do that there, and I'll talk about why. But pull out the 4. And then you're also going to ask yourself, can I pull out variables, right? Remember, don't just pull out the common number, like common constant, pull out the common variable as well, too. So this is x cubed. We have 3 x's here, right? And x cubed equals x squared times by x. And then here we have x squared, okay, which equals x squared times by 1. So here we can pull out an x squared out of this, right? X squared goes into x cubed, and x squared also goes into x squared one time. So I can pull out x squared, and that's what I'll do. I'll pull out x squared, and now I've pulled out 4x squared from 4x cubed. So you got to kind of work backward, think a little bit. Here, I take this out. What would I have to do here to get 4x cubed? You're kind of like thinking back, well, what needs to be here now to reverse the process? Well, this just have to be x here, right? Because 4x squared times by x is 4x cubed. Okay, pulled 4x squared out of this. So pulled that out of 20x squared y. Well, I pulled 4 out because, again, I 4 times 5 equals 20, so that helps me out there. I put out the 5 there. But I pulled out the x squared. I pulled out the whole term there. So 4x squared, which is just 1, and 5 times 1 is 5. I don't need to write anything. I still have a y there. So right there, y. Okay? So now I pulled out. I don't have a trinomial here. I don't see any exponents. I don't see the same variables. There's nothing else to pull out. So I think this one is done. Okay, this one is done. So remember, a lot of times when you see two terms, you're just going to pull out common factors. Okay, just going to pull out common factors. There is an exception to that, and that's this. You should still try to do this too, is that if you see it's quadratic, okay? So what we notice in this one, it's quadratic. Okay, if we see it's quadratic, how do I know it's quadratic? Well, I've found a way to write this where my highest degree, right, the highest variable number is 2. And that's a quadratic expression. So it's quadratic. So to factor quadratics, this one here, we're going to want to do our factoring quadratics method. What have we been doing for factoring quadratics? We've been doing diamond and rectangle. Okay, so it should take you less than 2 minutes to do these if you're doing diamond and rectangle. There is actually a shortcut on this too. There's hoping you can work towards. I might have tomorrow's class be about it. But anyways, we're not using diamond and rectangle this one. Reason is because we can't do anything else other than diamond and rectangle. We can't pull out a common factor. Factors that go into 16, well, 4 and 4, 8 and 2, 1 and 16. 8 doesn't go into 49. 2 doesn't go into 49. 4 doesn't go into 49. None of this goes into 49 here, okay? So maybe let's take a different approach here. And we can't pull out any common factors, so it's quadratic, right? Remember, quadratic stands for 4 sides. So if it's quadratic, there's a chance that it's going to be we can make a 4-sided shape out of it with, right angles, a rectangle, right? So let's use our generic rectangle. So I'll set this one up, okay, just like this, 16x squared. We got minus 49 up top, okay? So I set that one up. Remember, your rules are this diagonal needs to multiply to the same thing as that diagonal. Same thing as that diagonal. Again, your x's go here. and x's go here. First of all, what I want you to notice is, do you have any x's at all? No, we got no x's. So remember, this thing here, it's not quite written in standard form yet because 16x minus 49 is actually skipping the x term, skipping the middle one. So this here, x squared, 16x squared minus 49 equals the same thing as 16x squared plus 0x minus 49. So we can still use our diamond and rectangle to solve this. We just know that this diagonal needs to add to become 0. Well, how do you add to become 0? I'm not going to do that. And it needs to multiply to whatever this is up here. Ooh, this is a little tricky one to solve because that's a big number, my friends. That's a big number. Okay, so it needs to multiply to, oops, it's a really big number, 16 times negative 49. So I'll make this one negative 784. Ooh, negative 784. And then the amount of x's we have 0. Okay, so these things need to add to be the same, but multiply to be a negative number. Well, if your two numbers multiply to become a negative number, what do you actually know that the signs of both of them? Two numbers multiplied to one another become a negative number as a product. Well, a positive times a positive would be a positive product. If you multiply two negative numbers to one another, your product is positive as well. So here we need to get one positive number and one negative number. Oh, wait, they also need to cancel each other out. Interesting. So what you're going to get here for your x's splitting across needs to be the same number, but opposite signs. They need to be the same number, but opposite signs, right? 5 minus 5 would equal 0. Multiply to negative 25. That doesn't help you out. 10 minus 10 brings you to 0. But 10 times negative 10 would be negative 100, okay? So what you actually need to do to figure this one out is you need to take the square root of 784. That's right. What are two numbers that multiply to 784, and therefore their opposites would add to 0? We'll take a square root. You get 28, okay? So we get minus 28x and plus 28x, okay? Let's put it down here, 28x. Minus 20. Remember, there's going to be a faster way I'm going to share with you guys tomorrow. But this is how you can do it, right? So you just get totally stuck there for tonight's homework. So we get this one out here. This is 16. 16 is not going to go into 28. 16 is not going to go into this 28 here. What are some other factors of 16? 8. Well, 8 doesn't go into 28. 8 and 2, so that doesn't work. So, but 4. 4 goes into negative 28. Negative 7 times. So check it out here. 4x here times by 4x here brings you to 16x squared. 4x times negative 7 brings you to negative 28x. 4x, I'm going to get to positive 20x plus 7. There you go. So we have this factored as this. What we have on the outside here. 4x plus 7 times by 4x minus 7. So that's that pattern that was described a bit near the end of class. I think like Theodore described it near the end of class. But where you have kind of the factors are actually the same, but it's like one is positive, one is negative. Well, the constant term. One is positive, one's negative, right? Opposite. And what do we notice here? 7 times negative 7 equals what? Equals negative 49. 4x times 4x equals what? Equals 16x squared. Okay, so, negative 28 plus 28 equals 0, right? That's where the 0 comes from. That's why I don't see a term, okay? So maybe let's just do one more example of this because my guess is maybe this was a bit overwhelming. So let's just glide through one more example, maybe with some smaller numbers here. I'm going to do this. 4x squared plus, I won't do 4. I've done 16 already. I'll do that one. Hey, why not? I would do plus 25. Actually, I'm going to do minus 25. You're going to see this. It's always going to be negative here, though, because this is something called a difference of squares. You might get this in your lesson tomorrow. Okay, so you're going to solve this one. What can I do? If I want to do the diamond and generic rectangle method, I can do 4x squared plus 0x minus 25. Jam on home. Puzzle time, baby. Puzzle time. 4x squared goes here. Minus 25 goes here. We know that this diagonal multiplies to negative 100 x squared. We also know that that diagonal is going to have to multiply to be negative 100 x squared. Ooh, what's the square root of 100? 10. There it is right there. 10x minus 10x. Okay, so you could have done the whole diamond and gotten there the same way, right? This here is negative 100x squared. We have 0 x's. Yeah, that's what we have to deal with here. So this has got to be plus 10x and minus 10x. What I said to you a few minutes ago, right, is that 10 minus 10 is 0, but 10 times negative 10 is negative 100x squared. There we go. We worked out there. We worked it out. Now we can factor the outside. So you're expected to do all the work like this in today's class. There's going to be a shortcut, right? I might go over a shortcut tomorrow, and then, well, maybe practice the shortcut a little bit later because it's helpful to kind of know it. Okay, 2x times 2x brings me to 4x because I'm going to put 4x here because 4 doesn't go into 10. 2x times by negative 5 is what's going to bring me to negative 10. 2x times by positive 5 brings me to positive 10. And what do we end up with? We end up with, again, exactly what Theodore described earlier today. 2x plus 5 times 2x minus 5. We got the same x terms, right? 2x squared is 4x squared, right? 2x meaning like the whole thing squared is 4x squared. And then 5 times negative 5 is negative 25. And that's that. And then the 10x's, right? We can look, kind of eyeball in our head, right? This would be, for multiplying this together, this is 10x right there. 5 times 2x is 10x. 2x times negative 5. There's where my negative 10x came from. So that's that. All right. Hopefully this video is helpful. Feel free to send me more questions. I'm willing to make them. Take care. Have a good day. Bye.